Welcome to the second half of our Innerspace episode. So let's get into it, guys. Innerspace. We watched this film. I literally just watched it about an hour ago.
Yeah.
So it's relatively fresh in my memory. Hopefully, we'll find out. What about you guys? When did you guys revisit this movie?
Yeah, I literally finished right before the podcast started. And I was telling Joe before we started that I started watching it yesterday. And then I realized today I was running out of time. So I was watching it on my phone in the car. And then I finished the last 20 minutes at home right before we started recording. So yeah, it's I guess fresh on my mind.
You, Joe, same? You watched it today as well?
I saw it yesterday. I actually rented from YouTube. So,
but where did you watch it, Joe? Did you watch it undistracted somewhere?
I watch it at work, and no, I actually listened and watched at work, and I watched it again last night at before bed.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, thankfully, unlike Memento, which we did another episode on, and Joey P tried to watch it at work, which is a big mistake. That is not a movie.
This is a little easier to follow than Memento.
Yes, for sure. Very different vibe, much simpler in premise. But
I had to watch it 3 times on Mementos.
And we still don't understand it.
No, not really.
No, not really. Yeah. But enough about Memento. Innerspace, man. Let's get into it. Now, the whole impetus for us doing Innerspace, this came from Scott. This was a Scott pick. And as he explained in the first half of this episode, there's a sort of a bit of a controversy going on with a certain journalist who wrote a pretty scathing review on Martin Short and his career, and saying how basically unfunny Martin Short is, and we needed to prove him wrong. And Scott chose Innerspace, which is a movie that I personally hadn't seen in ages, and I'll be honest with you, I totally forgot about. But I gotta say, it was fun revisiting this movie. It reminded me.
This is an enjoyable film. But you know what I took away from this film? How good it looks for a film that was made in 1987.
Yes.
Like the scenes of where he's inside of Martin Short. Yeah, I'm like, this looks good. And I guess it looked good at that time because it won an Academy Award for visual effects.
Did it really?
For practical effects, yeah.
I couldn't believe it, man. I was very surprised. I right out of the box when I started watching this, and I remembered, the premise started coming back to me, and it deals with Martin Short plays, kind of a nebbish of a guy, right?
Yes, a Martin Shortish character.
Yeah, he's like a supermarket clerk or something, and he gets caught up in this scientific experiment where Dennis Quaid, who's like some kind of a hotshot pilot or engineer or whatever the case may be, he literally ends up inside Martin Short's body.
Yeah. Dennis Quaid is playing Dennis Quaid, drunk, coked up out of his mind, probably.
Yeah. Was he like a pilot that
he was supposed to be some kind of
fired?
Or
like he's a special
who
pilot.
Knows? I mean, the movie opens up with him drunk at some kind of like celebration and him fighting a bunch of guys because he's drunk.
He doesn't seem so popular as in a group of pilots.
No, he's a maverick.
He's a maverick.
He's a maverick. Okay. So yeah, as Scott said, I was pleasantly surprised when these scenes came up of him traveling in this microscopic ship through Martin Short's whole body, whatever systems he's going through, and it looked great. It looked great for the time, and I think we can attest to, which is something that I didn't know. I noticed while the credits were rolling in the beginning, Steven Spielberg's name popped up.
Produced it, yeah. I at one time considered directing it, actually offered it to Robert Zemeckis, who turned it down, and then gave it to Joe Dante. And if you guys know who Joe Dante is, he did the Gremlins films. So he did Gremlins and Gremlins 2. He did The Howling. He did Piranha, Joe, the original Piranha. He directed that. He's had an interesting career, a lot of horror movies, a lot of some misses, but yeah, he definitely does interesting stuff.
Yeah. The look of this film was actually awesome for the time, and a lot of it still holds up. surprisingly so. So that was a pleasant surprise. But I mean, the main aspect of this film was to watch Martin Short in action.
Yeah.
And you know what? He didn't disappoint. I forgot what a great physical comedian he was.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, now that he's in his older age, and he's still just as funny, if not funnier, in many ways. But of course, he's not doing the physical aspect like he used to. And it just reminded me how what a great physical actor he was. His facial expressions, his movements. I mean, there was that scene in the doctor's office when he's getting checked out, and you know, obviously his doctor probably sees him like every other day because he seems to be some kind of a hypochondriac, I guess. And you know, just him, the way he moves, he falls off the chair. I mean, it's just great. He was just a great physical comedian. But should we just go into the plot?
Yeah, let's go into the plot. So Joe, since you've watched it like 3 times in the last day, why don't you start us out this time?
No, 3 times Memento. This one I saw twice.
Oh, twice. Sorry.
Well, it started out with introduction of it was a party, right? Was it Martin Short in the doctor office?
No, Martin Short. I think it starts with the Dennis Quaid party. Yeah,
Dennis Quaid party, and he was just kind of drunk pilot that nobody likes.
Yeah, it seems like they're like military people, right? Is that they're like Air Force guys or something like that? Is that what the parties?
Fighter jet pilot, special force, somewhat.
Yeah.
And I think they were. I guess Meg Ryan was. She's a reporter.
She's a reporter. I think she's there as his date, though. I think she's there as Quaid's date, I believe.
Oh, was she not interviewing someone?
I don't think so. I think she was there as his date.
Well, there was a small scene, and she seemed to be interviewing someone.
Right.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was very short, and this was right before. This is while Dennis Quaid is in the kitchen getting his
right.
Oh,
you're right.
And she was interrupted by the sounds from the kitchen.
Yeah.
While they were fighting, and then so the fight broke out, and she went and rescued him. Took him home. They at that time I think she was already decided she wanted to leave him because he was such a mess, right?
Yeah.
And then so he would try to make out with her and do the dirty whatever.
But he plays the song Cupid, and that's their song.
Well,
so that works.
That's right. That song, I guess that's their song, right? So he always
didn't take much to get Meg Ryan to stay over, man. Just play the record, and
they met on this movie. They started dating while they were shooting this movie, and then they got married after this movie. Really? They were married for 10 years. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So Cupid does happen.
It worked.
It works.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Sure is.
Wonder if she's part of the cocaine.
Pretty much everybody was back then.
Yeah, everybody in Dennis Quaid's life at that time was part of the cocaine.
Well, then that take to the next day scene where the cab's waiting for her outside, honking the horn. She tried to sneak out, and then he came running with his pajamas, not pajamas.
No, just a towel.
Towels.
Just a towel.
Yeah, and then again, she said goodbye and left with his towels, and then.
Of course, you got to get the buns in. It's an 80s movie. We already established the lead man's buns.
Men's buns.
Got to be in there.
Oh, by the way, in one of the scenes, later on, there's Twinkies eating.
Oh, really? Was it Twinkies? Yes. I did not see Twinkies. Nice.
Who was eating Twinkies?
Dennis Quaid.
He was eating a Twinkie. He was inside of Martin Sheen?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
While he was he was looking, he was in the body, and I forget, but then he had a snack and he was eating Twinkies.
Now, the reason, just to clarify, the reason Joey P brought that up is we do have a Hostess Challenge episode coming up very soon. It'll probably
by the time you hear this, it'll already be out. Yeah.
Yes, you are right, Scott. By the time you hear this, it should be out. So please keep your ears tuned for that. Because it was actually a lot of fun doing that episode, and you could catch it on YouTube as well. But back to Innerspace.
So then I think I would fast forward to the scene where he's already suited up and in the machine, and ready to be injected into the rabbit, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. He gets shrunk down. I think they spin it. I don't quite understand the science in this movie. They almost put him like on a centrifuge, and they spin him around, and all of a sudden he's microscopic.
So part of the process of this miniaturization, it involves a certain little piece. What did they call it? It's okay.
They called it a chip.
The chip.
Was two different, yeah, there's two chips.
So what the chip is installed in the machine via this robot arm. That made me giggle to no end, because it was like, why do you need that robot arm to inject or to insert a chip into this?
Did any of you guys ever have one of those robots? I had friends that had those arms like that you could get it to do and pick up stuff.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a popular toy. Yeah, in the late '80s, early '90s, that was a popular toy where you could go and it could grab stuff. It was just a robot arm like that.
You control the arm, you mean?
Yep.
And then you can pick up stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, well, it was like high tech shit back then.
Yeah, I didn't have it, but I had friends that had it. Yeah, no, it was like a Radio Shack toy you could buy. It wasn't that high tech.